My name is Alec Miller, and I'm going to be doing an informative speech on gender dysphoria. Have you ever felt like everyone in the room is watching you and secretly judging you when they're not? This is what people with gender dysphoria can feel like. Gender dysphoria is the feeling you get when you don't conform with your birth gender and the discomfort you can feel from that. The reason I know this and it's so interesting to me is because it's barely ever talked about, and as a transgender individual, I want to educate other people on the subject. And I personally have been out as transgender for 2 years. And around that time, I was diagnosed with gender dysphoria in a hospital by a doctor. And you can always say you have gender dysphoria, but until it's diagnosed by a doctor or a psychologist, it's not for sure. And it's definitely important to be diagnosed by a doctor because starting HRT and transitioning hormone therapy is a very complex and permanent process, and it takes a lot of time. And if you go through with it and you're female to male or male to female and you go on hormones and get surgeries and then decide a year later that you want to detransition, you're never going to go back to the same place you were originally, mentally and physically, because your voice changes, you develop an Adam's apple, you develop different mental thoughts, like the way you think about things, and it's definitely important. Gender dysphoria is the thing that causes someone to transition, because without gender dysphoria, they would have no reason to transition, because transitioning is what alleviates gender dysphoria. And it's a big debate in the transgender community about if you need it or not. And that gets into trans meds and true scums, which isn't important as gender dysphoria is. What I'm here to talk about is in depth what gender dysphoria is, why it's important, and how to alleviate it. As I said before, gender dysphoria is general discomfort with the gender you were assigned at birth. So if you were born female, you may have physical, social, emotional discomfort with that gender. And it's all diagnosed by a psychologist or a doctor. For example, physical gender dysphoria is when you're uncomfortable with the body parts you were given at birth. For me, I was given a female chest. And ever since I was little, I've always had discomfort from my female chest. And I know this because looking back, I've always gotten upset if I had to wear a bra or wear a dress. And all of that was gender dysphoria, but I didn't realize it at the time. And growing up, I was just like, oh, maybe I'm a lesbian because I like wearing boy clothes and I like doing boy things. But in reality, it was all gender dysphoria and I wasn't noticing it. And gender dysphoria can cause anxiety, discomfort, distress, and it can happen at any age, not just as a child. And gender dysphoria can be lessened by passing more as the gender you identify. It doesn't always have to, because there's always gender roles, which is very different. Like you can be a feminine dressing boy or a masculine dressing female, but I know for sure that it definitely alleviates it by dressing the way that you want to identify, because then you pass better and people address you as the gender you want to identify. And female to males like pack so they have a bulge like a guy does or compress their female chests. So it's definitely an important issue. And as I said in the beginning, gender dysphoria is great discomfort with your assigned gender at birth. And today I talked about what gender dysphoria is, why it's important, and how it can be better alleviated. Have you ever known someone with gender dysphoria? And if you have, how have you dealt with that? How have they dealt with that? Thank you.